just revealed a bomber so secret that even Congress does not know what it can do. And within weeks, Russia accelerated weapons programs. This is not a fighter jet. The B-21 Raider was built to enter airspace undetected and fly nuclear missions with just one pilot. Why are adversaries building defenses against a threat they cannot see, and what forced them to rethink decades of planning? Join us as we find out why the B-21 has Russia genuinely panicking. For decades, Russia and China constructed their air defense networks around one core assumption. They understood American bomber capabilities. Massive radar arrays blanketed contested regions. Surface-to-air missile batteries were positioned to intercept known flight profiles. Military strategists mapped scenarios based on the B-2 Spirit, a stealth bomber with limitations they'd studied exhaustively and believed they could counter. Then the B-21 was revealed, and that assumption was shattered. The geopolitical chessboard shifted. China rehearses military operations around Taiwan with alarming frequency. Russia demonstrated in Ukraine that modern warfare extends far beyond traditional battlefields into cyberspace and the electromagnetic spectrum. Coordinated autonomous systems now determine outcomes as decisively as bombs. America's existing bomber fleet, despite its raw power, was designed for a strategic environment that no longer exists. The B-2 Spirit costs over $150,000 per flight hour and requires 51 hours of maintenance for every hour airborne. It cannot be serviced outside specialized, climate-controlled facilities, which limits where and how often it can operate. Each mission demands months of preparation, coordination, and post-flight restoration, reducing flexibility during crises. Strategic deterrence only functions when adversaries believe a weapon will be used, and when a stealth bomber is too costly and fragile for sustained operations, its deterrent value becomes theoretical rather than operational. It serves like a conventional aircraft, using standard hangars and requiring hours instead of months. More critically, it was designed from inception to dominate an integrated battle space where cyber warfare, electronic attacks, drone swarms, and hypersonic missiles converge simultaneously. Here is what genuinely concerns Russian and Chinese military planners. This is not an experimental platform trapped in testing phases. 3 aircraft already exist, and production facilities are manufacturing 7 to 8 additional bombers each year, with a planned fleet of 100. This means operational squadrons will form while adversaries are still validating prototypes. By the time Russia fields the PAKDA and China introduces the H-20, dozens of B-21s will already be deployed, with crews logging thousands of flight hours, developing tactics, integrating new software, and identifying weaknesses long before opponents encounter the aircraft in conflict. Russia invested enormous resources in constructing air defenses optimized for known platforms, known signatures, and predictable mission profiles. Those systems were built on assumptions that no longer hold. As the B-21 enters service, entire layers of that defensive architecture risk becoming obsolete before reaching full operational maturity. Meanwhile, Chinese military planners face a similar dilemma. Their H-20 stealth bomber is still in development, with prototypes undergoing initial testing and no operational squadrons yet formed. China has devoted decades to refining defensive doctrines around anticipated American capabilities, but the B-21's operational pace undermines these preparations. By the time the H-20 becomes mission-ready, B-21 crews will have accumulated thousands of flight hours, integrated AI-assisted systems, and established operational concepts that effectively leapfrog China's planned deployment schedule, forcing a fundamental recalibration of Chinese air defense planning. But here's the part most analysts miss. How one aircraft platform creates this kind of disruption reveals something far more significant than stealth technology alone. According to a leaked Air Force Global Strike Command memo, the B-21 Raider will fly 40-hour globe-spanning nuclear strike missions with just one human pilot on board. Not 2 pilots like every heavy bomber in American history. 1 pilot and 1 weapons systems officer. This single detail reveals the most significant shift in air warfare since stealth itself. Advanced AI autonomy has arrived in strategic aviation. Every current bomber requires multiple pilots because the cognitive load is immense. The B-52, B-1B Lancer, and even the B-2 Spirit operate with paired pilots and weapons officers. During marathon missions, they meticulously schedule every task, managing sleep in shifts to ensure alertness for weapons engagement and the complex, dangerous mid-flight refuelings that occur every few hours. Retired Air Force Colonel Mel Dell, who flew a record 44.3-hour B-2 mission, described the brutal reality: constantly reviewing target folders, monitoring fuel consumption, replanning routes when coordinates change mid-flight, which happens regularly, all while fighting fatigue so extreme that flight surgeons issue amphetamine, go pills just to keep pilots functional. The single-pilot configuration reveals the B-21's true revolution. The pilot's role fundamentally shifts from actively flying the aircraft to supervising an artificial intelligence system that handles flight operations. But this isn't autopilot. Commercial autopilot executes pre-programmed directives. When circumstances change, humans must intervene manually. The B-21's AI operates on a completely different level. It processes data from the same sensor arrays human operators use, but responds faster and never experiences fatigue. When surface-to-air missile radar locks onto the bomber, the AI deploys radio frequency countermeasures and executes evasive maneuvers, potentially faster than human reaction time allows. When new battlefield threats emerge that weren't present during mission planning, the AI rapidly calculates optimal routes through contested airspace, automatically adjusting course while notifying the pilot. The AI handles routine operations and many complex tasks as effectively as human operators, allowing the pilot to serve primarily as mission supervisor. During extended missions, the human pilot can rest between refuelings while the AI manages flight operations. Strategic analysts understand what this means. America has operationally implemented jury AI-assisted combat aviation, while adversaries are still building traditional crewed platforms. That is a generational technological leap that compounds over time as AI systems learn and improve. But even sophisticated AI can't help if enemy radar detects you. So how does a 40-meter wide aircraft achieve a radar cross-section the size of a tennis ball? Making a 40-meter wide aircraft appear the size of a tennis ball on radar screens isn't marketing exaggeration. It's the B-21's reported radar cross-section. And understanding why this matters requires grasping what stealth means in modern warfare. Every millimeter of this aircraft's surface matters. One imperfect seam, one slight edge, and stealth effectiveness degrades. Russian and Chinese air defense networks were designed to detect large metal structures with engines, wings, and distinct radar returns. The B-21 was engineered to betray none of those signatures. The bomber is covered in a specialized coating that absorbs radar waves rather than reflecting them. But this represents just the foundation of a multi-layered signature reduction system. The cockpit windows blend seamlessly into the airframe with minimal edges for radar to catch. Every joint, every seam, every crevice that could compromise the radar cross-section has been eliminated from external view. Onboard electronics don't just reduce radar signature, they can actively deceive enemy systems, making hostile radar see something that isn't there, or more accurately, see almost nothing worth investigating. The engines reveal engineering obsession. They're recessed deep into the wings, completely hidden from direct observation and angled to minimize thermal signatures. The narrow exhaust design represents a massive improvement over the B-2's configuration that created detectable heat signatures. The B-21's engines reach Mach 0.8, not supersonic, because when signature management is this effective, you don't need to outrun missiles. Speed creates noise and heat. Stealth creates operational advantage. Here's where physics becomes weaponized. Every curve on this aircraft is continuous. Every angle mirrors itself throughout the structure. When radar waves hit flat surfaces, they bounce directly back to the emitter, creating obvious radar returns. But curved surfaces scatter those waves in multiple directions simultaneously, fragmenting the radar return into background noise that operators dismiss as atmospheric interference. The construction process itself reveals the obsession. Unlike any aircraft in history, the B-21 is built from the outside in, completely backwards from normal assembly. Traditional aircraft are built from the inside out. Why reverse this proven method? Because radar detects surface imperfections, the smooth outer surface must be perfected before internal components are installed. On the B-2, maintenance crews had to hand-remove exterior coating to access wiring beneath over 100 panels, a process taking months in climate-controlled facilities. The B-21 has simple maintenance doors, allowing service work in normal hangars over hours. This seemingly minor detail has massive operational implications. You can actually use the bomber regularly instead of treating it like a museum piece. But signature reduction alone isn't what terrifies Russian strategists. What truly concerns them is how this platform adapts to threats that don't even exist yet. Every previous stealth bomber became outdated the moment it entered service. New threats emerged, technology advanced, and multi-billion-dollar aircraft became frozen in time. Upgrading meant years of retrofitting and astronomical costs. The B-21 shatters this paradigm with one revolutionary concept: open architecture software that turns a bomber into an infinitely adaptable weapons platform. Think of your smartphone. You don't buy a new device for different capabilities. You download apps. The B-21 applies this exact logic to weapons systems and mission profiles. Need to share real-time location data with satellites? Software integration? Want to run a new electronic warfare program? Download and deploy it. The bomber can be reconfigured for entirely different missions between sorties. Engineers can develop specialized reconnaissance systems, test them, deploy them on a mission, then seamlessly replace them with combat-focused configurations the next day. No hardware replacement required, no months of retrofitting, pure adaptability. This represents warfare reimagined. Russian military planners build defenses against known capabilities, specific sensors, particular weapon systems, and understood tactics. But how do you defend against a platform that fundamentally changes what it can do between missions? Today's reconnaissance aircraft becomes tomorrow's electronic warfare platform, which becomes next week's drone command center, all using the same airframe. The B-21 was designed as one component in a family of systems, integrating with joint all-domain command and control, connecting every sensor across the U.S. military for instant information sharing. Satellites, drones, submarines, tanks, ships, and bombers share information simultaneously, functioning like interconnected nodes of a single distributed intelligence, spanning all domains. Future operational concepts envision the B-21 flying alongside autonomous drone wingmen that guide, share targeting data, and act as decoys to distract enemy radar. But the bomber isn't just dropping ordnance. It serves as an airborne command center, issuing real-time orders to drones, directing formations, coordinating with naval assets, all while maintaining its primary strike capability. Consider the scenario keeping Chinese military planners awake. China begins operations against Taiwan. Within minutes, a B-21 launches from a Pacific base. It arrives coordinating drone swarms, accessing communication networks to locate high-value targets, directing precision strikes without ever entering hostile airspace itself. The bomber carries long-range weapons with standoff capability and an 11,000-kilometer unrefueled range. Virtually no location on Earth remains beyond reach. Here's what truly matters. The brilliance isn't being the newest technology. It's perpetually adapting to what's new. Open architecture means continuous capability enhancement. Revolutionary sensors developed in 5 years? Integrate them seamlessly. Next-generation electronic warfare capabilities? Download and deploy. Advanced AI algorithms? Update the software. Whatever technological breakthroughs emerge over the next 3 decades, this platform absorbs them without requiring new aircraft. Russia's PAKDA and China's H-20 are being designed for today's battlefield using today's technology. The B-21 is being designed for battlefields that haven't been imagined yet, but software means nothing if you can't manufacture the actual aircraft at scale. And here's where the production numbers should genuinely concern adversaries. Welcome to Plant 42, Northrop Grumman's partially classified facility in Palmdale, California, where 8,000 workers are manufacturing America's stealth bomber fleet at a pace that fundamentally changes strategic calculations. Current intelligence suggests they're delivering 7 to 8 aircraft annually, and that production tempo is accelerating. To understand why this matters, consider the catastrophic B-2 procurement failure. Original plans called for 132 aircraft at $500 million each. What did America actually receive? 21 planes costing $2 billion apiece. The Cold War's end triggered military budget cuts, and the most advanced bomber fleet in history died stillborn. Too few aircraft, too expensive to operate, too maintenance-intensive to deploy regularly. The Air Force explicitly demanded cost discipline for B-21 development. Each aircraft costs approximately $700 million. Classified items mean actual costs run higher, but nowhere near B-2 levels. More critically, this bomber services in standard hangars for hours instead of months, enabling sustained operations rather than occasional symbolic missions. The manufacturing revolution enabling this pace is driven by augmented reality and digital twin technology. Engineers don't just build physical aircraft. They work with perfect digital replicas, testing newly developed systems in virtual environments before anything reaches the production line. Design flaws discovered in digital twins get fixed with software changes rather than million-dollar physical retrofits. This digital thread shares across all of Northrop's partners as they develop complementary systems, ensuring seamless integration before the first component is manufactured. Want to test a radical new sensor configuration? Run it in simulation. Does it work? Build it. Does it fail? Delete it and iterate. Zero wasted materials, minimal risk. The strategic implications are profound. Russia and China are developing stealth bombers, singular experimental platforms that might enter limited service in the 2030s if development proceeds perfectly. America is manufacturing B-21s at scale right now, building institutional knowledge, refining production processes, and preparing operational squadrons while adversaries are still testing prototypes. 3 B-21s currently exist. By the time Russia's PAKDA or China's H-20 reach initial operational capability, dozens more Raiders will be operational with crews who've accumulated thousands of flight hours. By the time those foreign platforms achieve full operational status, American squadrons will have refined tactics, integrated new capabilities through software updates, and developed operational concepts adversaries won't understand until experiencing them in conflict. The planned fleet of 100 Raiders will retire 45 B-1Bs and 20 B-2s, potentially even phasing out the B-52 that's been flying for over 70 years. It is a complete reconceptualization of strategic bombing built around sustained operations rather than occasional deployment of precious, irreplaceable assets. Every aircraft rolling out of Plant 42 represents a node in a networked warfare ecosystem. Each can share data with every platform, coordinate with autonomous drones, and update software to match evolving threats. Russia isn't facing one new bomber. They're facing a self-improving fleet that becomes more capable with every software update, every sensor integration, every tactical lesson learned. So we have a low observable bomber with AI-assisted operations that adapts to future threats and is being mass-produced right now. But what does this actually mean when tensions escalate? The B-21 Raider has exactly one mission, stated with brutal clarity: prevail in great power conflict against Russia or China. Not counter-terrorism, not regional operations. Total war against near-peer adversaries with sophisticated air defenses, advanced fighters, and their own stealth programs. Strategic analysts understand this aircraft represents something beyond incremental advancement. It's a platform that fundamentally alters how great powers calculate risk. Strategic bombing evolved over a century from German Zeppelins over London in World War I to America's current fleet. The B-52 Stratofortress, with its massive 70,000-pound payload, the supersonic B-1B Lancer using speed to evade defenses, and the B-2 Spirit designed to penetrate hostile airspace through stealth. All three were designed for different eras with different assumptions. The B-21 was designed for an integrated battle space where cyber warfare, electronic attacks, hypersonic missiles, and autonomous drone swarms converged simultaneously. A battlefield that barely existed when those older aircraft entered service. The flying wing design maximizes lift while minimizing drag, requiring less power and extending both range and loiter time. With an 11,000-kilometer range without refueling, there's literally nowhere on Earth beyond reach. Combine that range with long-range weapons, and the bomber doesn't need proximity to targets. the psychological calculus shifts entirely. Adversaries cannot reliably track where the B-21 is, cannot track it when nearby, and face severe challenges preventing mission completion. Now layer in the capabilities already discussed, and the platform's true purpose becomes clear. The AI co-pilot enables sustained 40-hour missions with a single human on board, not by reducing workload, but by absorbing entire categories of decision-making, navigation, threat avoidance, sensor fusion, and real-time route optimization, allowing the pilot to function as a mission commander rather than an operator. Open architecture software means the aircraft is never locked into a single role. Mission packages can be rewritten between sorties, transforming the bomber from a strike platform into an intelligence node, an electronic warfare asset, or a command relay without structural modification. Integrated with satellite networks and autonomous drone wingmen, the B-21 operates as the airborne nerve center of a distributed force, directing unmanned systems, sharing targeting data across domains, and shaping the battle space before weapons are released. Its electronic warfare suite does not simply evade defenses, it actively degrades, misleads, and fragments adversary sensor networks, collapsing their ability to see the fight as a coherent whole. If conflict erupts, the B-21 leads without being near the fight. It coordinates drone swarms, directs naval assets, shares targeting data with ground forces, all while maintaining the option to engage targets from standoff ranges. Joint all-domain command and control means information flows instantaneously. What one sensor detects, every platform knows simultaneously. Consider force structure implications. 100 B-21 Raiders, replacing 45 B-1Bs, 20 B-2s, and potentially the entire B-52 fleet. Some might consider it a replacement, but it's a reconceptualization of strategic bombing doctrine. Older platforms could barely afford to fly due to operational costs. The B-21 is designed for regular, sustained operations, making deterrence credible rather than theoretical. Russia's PAKDA and China's H-20 are responses to American air dominance, attempts to match capabilities that debuted decades ago with the B-2. But they're building bombers while America built a warfare ecosystem. Even if adversaries successfully field stealth platforms, they're entering a game where the rules fundamentally changed. The geopolitical message is unmistakable. America remains multiple generations ahead in strategic warfare technology. While adversaries struggle to field experimental prototypes, the U.S. manufactures at scale, refines operational concepts, and prepares for conflicts that haven't been conceived yet. 3 B-21 Raiders exist today. Production accelerates. By the time foreign programs reach operational status, American crews will have accumulated experience that adversaries won't match for years. And the real test of the B-21 won't be when it flies, but when adversaries realize they can't reliably defend against it. The United States' new 6th-generation bomber, the B-21 Raider, has captured global attention for its advanced technology and lethal capabilities. Now rumors suggest that North Korea may have acquired one, acknowledging its sophistication, which has sparked worldwide curiosity. On the other hand, China, a longtime rival of the U.S., has expressed concerns over the Raider's strategic potential, further fueling global debate. Does North Korea truly possess the B-21 Raider in its arsenal? Can China's upcoming H-20 bomber rival the Raider in stealth, range, and technology? Join us as we explore the capabilities of the United States B-21 Raider that the whole world is afraid of. Although it's unlikely for North Korea to ever acquire the B-21 Raider, the nation has expressed both respect and concern for this advanced bomber. A recent report from North Korean state-run media has revealed the growing concerns about the United States military's new stealth bomber, the B-21 Raider, which made its first test flight in November 2023. According to the Rodong Sinmun newspaper, this new bomber is being seen as a very serious nuclear threat. Strikes showing the world that Washington is willing to use its nuclear weapons in unexpected ways. North Korea's state media emphasized that the B-21 has the ability to launch an unexpected nuclear strike anywhere, a phrase that suggests its advanced capabilities in stealth technology and nuclear strike precision. Also, the test flight of this new generation of strategic bombers is a clear demonstration of the United States putting its nuclear preemptive strike tactics into practice. Such a development sends a powerful message, and anyone can easily guess the implications of the U.S. showcasing this new weapon. The journey to create the B-21 Raider began in 2011, setting the stage for a fierce competition between two aerospace giants, a Boeing-Lockheed Martin partnership and Northrop Grumman. Both companies presented their visions for the next-generation stealth bomber, but Northrop Grumman's extensive experience with the B-2 Spirit and its promise of affordability gave it the winning edge. The Air Force ultimately awarded the contract to Northrop Grumman in 2015, impressed by the company's ability to balance advanced capabilities with economical costs, a lesson learned from the astronomical expenses of the B-2 program, which saw each aircraft priced at amounts comparable to the GDP of some small nations. To meet the Air Force's demanding requirements while keeping costs in check, Northrop Grumman assembled a vast network of over 400 suppliers from 40 states. This collaboration spanned years, including the challenging period of the COVID-19 pandemic, with suppliers operating continuously to ensure progress. Among these suppliers were 7 globally renowned Tier 1 companies. These included Pratt & Whitney, known for its advanced jet engines, Europe's largest defense contractor, BAE Systems, Spirit AeroSystems, the leading manufacturer of aerostructures, and other major contributors like Northrop Grumman's Orbital ATK, Rockwell Collins, GKN Aerospace, and Janicki Industries. Together, these companies and Northrop Grumman developed a stealth bomber, the B-21 Raider. With a unit cost of $630 million, this bomber is not only 68% more cost-effective than the B-2, but also significantly more advanced. This achievement reflects over 2 decades of technological progress, making the B-21 a marvel of modern engineering. Despite its affordability compared to its predecessor, the B-21 retains unparalleled capabilities that redefine what a stealth bomber can accomplish. What makes the B-21 Raider especially significant is its long development period. The aircraft has been in the works for over 30 years, and its name is a tribute to the Doolittle Raid, a famous World War II mission which was led by Lieutenant Colonel James Doolittle. In 1942, Doolittle led a bombing raid on Japan, which marked a critical moment in the war. By naming the new bomber after this historical event, the U.S. sends a symbolic message about its commitment to strategic military power and its readiness to act when necessary. The U.S. Department of Defense has repeatedly stated that the role of its nuclear weapons is to deter nuclear attacks on the nation and its allies. According to the Pentagon's 2022 Nuclear Posture Review, the U.S. would only use nuclear weapons in extreme cases to defend its vital interests or those of its partners. However, the development of the B-21 Raider and other advanced military technologies shows that the U.S. is preparing for scenarios where it may need to carry out preemptive strikes to protect its security. On the other hand, North Korea has remained defiant in its nuclear stance. In September 2022, the country codified its irreversible nuclear weapons program into law, which includes provisions for the preemptive use of nuclear weapons. North Korea's leadership has repeatedly stated that it may resort to nuclear strikes if its leadership or nuclear infrastructure is threatened by hostile forces. This law further escalates tensions in the region, with North Korea maintaining its aggressive stance in nuclear weapons development. The military presence of the United States in the region has increased in recent months as part of efforts to deter North Korean aggression. American bombers, such as the B-52H Stratofortress, have made notable appearances over the Korean Peninsula, including a landmark landing in South Korea on October 17, 2023, the first time in 30 years. This was followed by a joint aerial exercise involving the B-52, U.S. F-16 fighter jets, and South Korean F-15K Slam Eagles. These maneuvers were intended to strengthen military cooperation between the U.S., South Korea, and Japan in response to North Korea's missile and nuclear provocations. Washington, Seoul, and Tokyo have repeatedly emphasized their commitment to working together to prevent North Korea from continuing its nuclear and ballistic missile tests. North Korea's missile activity has been relentless, with 23 ballistic missiles fired in just 15 days in 2023 alone. These ongoing tests are seen as a direct challenge to regional stability, and the U.S. and its allies are determined to prevent further escalation. Earlier this year, North Korea claims it has tested a new intermediate-range ballistic missile equipped with a hypersonic warhead, saying it can contain any rivals in the Pacific region. The missile, launched on Monday, was the first test in 2 months and coincided with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's visit to Seoul for discussions with South Korean leaders. Hypersonic weapons, capable of traveling over 5 times the speed of sound, are hard to detect and intercept. North Korea says this missile reached speeds 12 times faster than sound and flew 1,500 kilometers. However, South Korea's military reported it traveled 1,100 kilometers before falling into the sea and condemned the launch as a provocation. Pyongyang claims the missile has advanced features like a new flight control system and a carbon fiber engine. Leader Kim Jong-un stated the launch demonstrated North Korea's readiness to protect its interests. Why is North Korea worried about the United States' next-generation bomb? Let's move on to features of this next-generation bomber. In terms of design, the B-21 Raider shares some similarities with its predecessor, the B-2 Spirit. Both aircraft feature a bat-like tailless shape, a design that minimizes radar detection by avoiding sharp angles. However, there are important differences. For instance, while the B-2 has its engines placed further away from the body of the aircraft, the B-21's engines are located closer to the wing root, where the wing and fuselage meet. This shift in engine placement is a key design decision, allowing for better stealth and efficiency. The engine air intakes of the B-21 are also distinct, angled differently compared to the B-2's serrated intakes. Additionally, the B-21 is designed with overwing exhaust to mask the infrared signature of its engines, a feature not seen on the B-2. Interestingly, this overwing exhaust design was first proposed in an artist's rendering of the B-2 back in 1988, showcasing how ideas have evolved over time. The B-21's size is expected to be similar to that of the B-2, which makes it likely to be a 4-engine bomber. This size would give it a large payload capacity, necessary for carrying both conventional and nuclear weapons. In 2016, Pratt & Whitney was announced as a subcontractor for the B-21, confirming that it would use one of 2 engine types, the F-100 or the F-135. The F-100, which powers the F-15 Eagle fighter jet, is a proven, reliable engine. However, the Air Force might opt for the F-135, the same engine used in the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter due to its growth potential and the opportunity to streamline maintenance costs across multiple aircraft platforms. Like its predecessor, the B-21 will be a strategic bomber capable of carrying both nuclear and conventional weapons. Given its similar size to the B-2, the B-21 will likely feature 2 bomb bays. To keep costs under control, the Air Force may reuse the Advanced Applications Rotary Launcher from the B-2, which fits in each bomb bay and can carry up to 8 bombs or missiles. This will ensure that the B-21 can carry a substantial payload, making it an effective asset for long-range bombing missions. One of the most important features of the B-21 will be its role in nuclear deterrence. For this mission, the Air Force will likely equip the B-21 with the Long-Range Standoff Missile, a precision-guided nuclear weapon designed for long-range strikes. This missile will allow the B-21 to strike high-value targets with minimal risk, as it will be launched from a distance beyond the reach of enemy defenses. The second weapon is the B-61 series of nuclear gravity bombs, particularly the new B-61-12, which has a unique dial-a-yield capability. This means that the power of the bomb can be adjusted to fit the target, allowing for precise and flexible attacks. In a typical nuclear mission, the B-21 will use its stealthy LRSO missiles to clear a path through the enemy's air defenses before dropping B-61 bombs on primary and secondary targets, ensuring maximum damage while minimizing the risk to the bomber. In addition to its nuclear capabilities, the B-21 will also be able to carry out conventional missions, making it a versatile weapon system. For these operations, it will be armed with the Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missile Extended Range, a long-range conventional cruise missile, as well as the 2,000-pound GBU-31 Joint Direct Attack Munition Bombs, which are guided by satellites to strike targets with pinpoint accuracy. The B-21 will use these weapons in a similar way to its nuclear weapons, first blasting its way through enemy defenses with the JASSIS MERs and then delivering JDAMs to destroy critical targets. In some missions, the B-21 could serve as a missile truck, launching up to 16 JASSIS MERs from a safe distance. Alternatively, it could fly into less defended airspace, using its stealth to penetrate enemy lines and deliver JDAMs directly onto the target. Additionally, the B-21 will carry the Massive Ordnance Penetrator, a 30,000-pound bomb that is currently only carried by the B-2 bomber. This massive bomb is designed to penetrate deeply buried or hardened targets, and the B-21 will be able to carry and deploy it, expanding its ability to take on a wide range of tough missions. One of the most innovative features of the B-21 Raider is its open architecture design. Unlike previous bombers, the B-21 is being built with a flexible hardware and software system that can easily be updated over time. This means that the bomber will not be limited to just one role, but can evolve as new technologies and missions emerge. The B-21's weapons bay could eventually transform into a mission payload bay, capable of carrying not only bombs and missiles, but also surveillance equipment, communication systems, drones, and electronic warfare packages. This makes the B-21 adaptable to many different roles, particularly in denied or contested environments where traditional bombers might struggle. As a result, the B-21 Raider is on track to become the first multi-role bomber for the United States, capable of executing a variety of missions far beyond its initial nuclear and conventional strike capabilities. The B-21 is expected to take to the skies in the mid-2020s, with the Air Force planning to acquire at least 100 of these bombers to replace older models like the B-52-0H Stratofortress and B-1B Lancer. A larger fleet of up to 200 bombers is possible, depending on funding and budget considerations. However, the exact details of the B-21's design and capabilities remain highly classified, as the U.S. military wants to protect its technological advantages. The B-21 has effectively disappeared into the black world of military technology, with the public only expected to see it once it is fully ready for service. When it does reemerge, however, it will mark a major leap forward in both the bomber's operational capabilities and the future of air combat. Now, let's compare the capabilities of this U.S. bomber with those of China's next-generation bomber. The competition between the United States and China in the development of next-generation bombers is intensifying, with both nations striving to establish dominance in stealth technology, firepower, and aviation innovation. At the heart of this race are the American B-21 Raider and China's Xi'an H-20 bomber, two of the most advanced strategic bombers ever conceived. The Chinese H-20 has been in development for several years, with its initial renderings emerging around the same time as those of the B-21 Raider. Analysts believe that China's future position in strategic bombing depends heavily on the success of the H-20. The aircraft is expected to be a key component of China's military modernization, aiming to rival or surpass the capabilities of its American counterpart. However, the United States, with its decades of experience in designing stealth aircraft, has a considerable head start. The B-21 Raider, on one hand, incorporates advanced design features such as serrated skin panels, fiber matte coatings, and a flying wing shape to minimize radar detection. Its engines are cleverly concealed to reduce infrared visibility, and it will be painted with anti-reflective materials to blend seamlessly into the sky during daylight operations. At altitudes exceeding 50,000 feet, its dark underside ensures that it merges with the upper atmosphere. An onboard light sensor further enhances its stealth capabilities, allowing pilots to adjust altitude in response to changing light conditions. To maintain these advanced stealth features, the B-21 may require specialized storage in air-conditioned hangars, costing millions of dollars. China's H-20, on the other hand, is expected to employ a flying wing design similar to the B-21, leveraging lessons from the J-20 stealth fighter. It will likely incorporate advanced radar cross-section reduction features, including a chimed forebody, a modified radar radome, and an electroconductive canopy. Other features such as serpentine air ducts, a flat fuselage, and sawtooth edges are expected to contribute to its stealth performance. However, the United States has a significant advantage in stealth technology, with the F-35 and B-2 Spirit already setting benchmarks in radar evasion. The B-21 Raider is designed to be even stealthier than these predecessors, making it a formidable challenge for China to match. The B-21 is expected to feature state-of-the-art avionics, providing unparalleled situational awareness, communication capabilities, and integration with other military assets. Its sensors and data sharing systems will make it a central component of a networked battlefield, enhancing its role beyond that of a traditional bomber. But some of its key features include a multi-mode radar, a fully digital navigation system that combines a terrain-following radar, GPS guidance, and an astro-inertial navigation system. This last feature allows the B-21 to navigate using celestial bodies in space, ensuring precise operations even in challenging environments. The bomber is also equipped with an active electronically scanned array radar, an electronic warfare system, a distributed aperture system, and an electro-optical targeting system. These advanced sensors and systems provide unmatched situational awareness, enabling the B-21 to detect, track, and engage targets effectively. To support battlefield communication, the aircraft uses Link 16 and a high-frequency satellite link, ensuring real-time data sharing with other assets during missions. One of the B-21's most remarkable innovations is its defensive management system. This system alerts the flight crew to potential threats in the area, allowing them to make mid-flight adjustments to their mission plan. The aircraft can quickly process new information, rerouting its course to minimize exposure to detected dangers. This capability ensures the safety of the crew and increases the bomber's survivability in high-threat environments. The B-21 is also designed to act as a key player in the sensor fusion network, making it not only a powerful bomber, but also an effective battle manager. This integration enables it to gather, process, and share data with other assets in the fleet, enhancing overall mission effectiveness. For maintenance and reliability, the aircraft features an onboard test system that continuously monitors the performance of thousands of components, ensuring optimal functionality throughout the mission. In terms of firepower and operational range, the B-21 Raider is designed to carry a diverse array of nuclear and conventional weapons. Its long-range capabilities enable it to strike targets anywhere in the world without requiring in-flight refueling, making it a versatile and strategic asset. The H-20, on the other hand, is expected to focus on regional power projection, with an emphasis on targeting U.S. military installations in the Pacific. While it may have strong operational range and payload capacity, it is unlikely to match the global reach and versatility of the B-21. In terms of armament, the B-21 is built to carry over 30,000 pounds of weapons, making it a formidable force on the battlefield. Its arsenal includes advanced nuclear weapons like the B-61 variable yield gravity bomb and long-range standoff nuclear cruise missiles. Additionally, it can carry a variety of conventional weapons, including Lockheed Martin's long-range anti-ship missile and Boeing's GPS-guided joint direct attack munition. These weapons allow the B-21 to engage targets from long distances, making it a versatile and stealthy platform capable of operating in contested areas like the South China Sea. In comparison, China's H-20 bomber, while still shrouded in secrecy, is believed to have similar capabilities, though its specifics remain unconfirmed. Reports suggest it may carry up to 20,000 pounds of armament, enabling it to threaten U.S. targets as far away as Hawaii. However, the B-21 currently has an edge in terms of confirmed capabilities and technological advancements, giving the U.S. a significant strategic advantage. If the NGAD is America's next-generation Sky Predator, this $300 million stealth bomber is its silent shadow, poised to dominate any battlefield once revealed. Sleek, stealthy, and designed to evade radar, it could redefine the rules of aerial power. How will rival nations react to such a looming threat? And can any defense truly withstand the B-21's potential reach? Join us as we unveil the deadly capabilities of the B-21 and how formidable it is against even the sixth-generation air fighters. The goal of the B-21 Raider program was clear from the beginning: to produce a strategic bomber that was operationally successful and cost-controlled, not an experimental one-off marvel. Setting new standards for sixth-generation technology, its advanced stealth and low observable design reduce maintenance costs, while an open architecture allows rapid upgrades in weapons and software. Combined with advanced networking and cloud integration, the B-21 is built to adapt and dominate against evolving threats for decades. It is the backbone of future U.S. air power, combining advanced sensors, data integration, and weapon systems. Capable of carrying both conventional and nuclear payloads, it delivers unmatched flexibility using a mix of standoff and direct attack munitions to remain one of the most lethal and effective aircraft in the sky. Unlike traditional programs, details of the long-range strike bomber program's spending remain highly classified, making it nearly impossible to publicly track efficiency or cost adherence. Almost 11 years later, in December of 2022, the public finally glimpsed the results of Northrop's engineers' dedication. While some critics dismissed it as merely a B-2 version 2, the comparison is unfair. The Raider is deliberately smaller than its predecessor, with a wingspan of approximately 132 feet compared to the B-2's 172 feet, and an empty weight roughly half that of the Spirit. This smaller size is not a compromise but a design advantage. In stealth aircraft, bigger does not automatically mean better. Modern radar systems are countered not by sheer size but by advanced sensors, sophisticated signal processing, and integrated multiband systems. Reducing the aircraft's size dramatically lowers its effective scattering area, or ESR. For context, the B-1 Lancer's ESR was roughly 10 square meters, similar to a passenger car flying through the sky. The B-2 Spirit reduced that to a mere point, akin to a bumblebee or golf ball on radar, and the B-21 Raider pushes this even further, with an ESR so minuscule it is compared to a mosquito. This low-profile yet potent design allows the Raider to slip through hostile defenses with unprecedented stealth, maintaining operational and strategic superiority, while demonstrating that careful engineering, innovation, and precision can create an aircraft that is as cost-effective as it is virtually invisible to enemy sensors. The difference between the B-2 Spirit and the B-21 Raider in stealth technology is like comparing the surface of the ocean to the Mariana Trench. The Spirit employed first-generation stealth, innovative for its time, but largely concentrated in the forward section of the aircraft, leaving the rear more exposed. The Raider, however, benefits from fifth-generation plus stealth parameters, with every bolt, seam, and surface engineered to minimize detection across radio frequency, infrared, and acoustic ranges, rendering it virtually invisible in all 360 degrees. Its compact size allows it to penetrate heavily defended airspaces, strike targets, or gather intelligence where the B-2 would face serious risk. Unlike its predecessor, the Raider is free from the burdensome maintenance that made the Spirit infamous. The B-2 required specially controlled hangars in precise environmental conditions, and after each flight, nearly 40% of the 80 man-hours per flight hour were spent repairing low observable materials, according to the Government Accountability Office. These issues are essentially eliminated in the B-21, allowing for operational readiness from day one. Many worried that the smaller frame would compromise range, but range is not merely about wingspan. It results from fuel efficiency, aerodynamics, engine performance, and mission profile. Modern engines, lighter yet more powerful systems, and refined mission planning mean that the Raider can deliver ordnance across vast distances while staying outside enemy air defense zones, a capability unimaginable when the Spirit first took to the skies almost 3 decades ago. The combination of advanced stealth, optimized aerodynamics, and modern systems ensures that the B-21 Raider is not just a successor, but a revolutionary step forward in strategic bombing. Smaller, faster, harder to detect, easier to maintain, and far more capable in real-world operations, proving that true technological evolution is not measured by size alone, but by how intelligently every aspect of the aircraft is designed and integrated. The evolution of modern strategic bombing has increasingly favored standoff weapons, and the introduction of the nuclear-armed AGM-181 long-range standoff, or LRSO, cruise missile, alongside the upgraded B-611-3 nuclear bomb, underscores the reality that many critical missions are now carried out from a safe distance. While this might seem at odds with the B-21 Raider's traditional role as a stealthy penetrator of enemy air defenses, modern threats, multi-layered networks of low-frequency radars, high-resolution infrared systems, passive sensors, and trace correlation technologies have made blind strikes extremely risky. To address this, the Raider was designed as a hybrid platform, retaining the ability to quietly infiltrate heavily defended areas to strike well-protected targets that require close-range precision, while also serving as a long-range launch platform capable of deploying munitions safely outside hostile zones. Engine development remains one of the most closely watched aspects of the program. Early reports suggested the B-21 might use two Pratt & Whitney PW9000 turbofans built around the cores of the PW1000G commercial engines. But the latest insights point to modified F-135 engines, the same proven power plants familiar from F-35 fighters. These engines offer both exceptional performance and cost efficiency, reflecting the ingenuity of Northrop's engineers, who have continuously refined stealth aircraft design since the B-21's conceptual ancestor, the Tacit Blue. Innovations such as deeply recessed air intakes and optimized engine integration ensure that the Raider remains exceptionally stealthy while providing the thrust and efficiency needed for both long-range cruise and agile penetration missions. This hybrid approach allows the B-21 to operate with flexibility, delivering precision strike capability across a wide spectrum of strategic and tactical missions, while minimizing risk to air crew and platform alike, demonstrating how modern bombers are evolving into multi-role, adaptive instruments of deterrence and warfare. The B-21 Raider also represents a huge change in bomber philosophy, moving away from one-off masterpieces toward flexible, long-term combat platforms. Unlike the B-2 Spirit, whose stealth came from precise shaping and coatings, the Raider is designed from the ground up as an open mission system, allowing new components to be integrated over decades, much like updating an app on a smartphone. This adaptability shows the approach being taken with the Air Force's next-generation, sixth-generation fighter under the Next Generation Air Dominance program, emphasizing connectivity and network-centric warfare. The Raider is intended to operate as the backbone of the future bomber fleet as the B-1 and B-2 gradually retire, while the upgraded B-52 continues to serve. Northrop Grumman plans to test fly two bombers as early as 2026, with aircraft so close to final production that rapid deployment is feasible if needed. Extensive virtual testing, over 1,000 hours of avionics trials on unmanned platforms, and a digital-first approach have ensured the B-21 is battle-ready beyond typical prototype limitations. The Air Force's preliminary target calls for a fleet of 100 B-21 Raiders, with at least $23 billion allocated over 30 years for development, procurement, and operations, 5 times the number of B-2 Spirits built during their entire life cycle. While the B-2 became an iconic proof of stealth, the Raider is designed to be a stable, scalable force component, quietly underpinning every Air Force operation rather than dominating headlines. Its open architecture allows the aircraft to adapt to evolving mission requirements without costly overhauls, ensuring decades of operational relevance. The era of stealth as an exotic, delicate craft has ended. The B-21 makes invisibility a standard feature of modern combat aviation, combining enduring utility, scalability, and cutting-edge technology into a single powerful backbone for the U.S. strategic bomber force. The B-21 is so formidable that it could even take out an air fighter as sophisticated as the United States' next-generation fighter, the NGAD. This is quite surprising because the NGAD itself represents the cutting edge of aerial warfare, a sleek, sixth-generation fighter under the Next Generation Air Dominance program. Valued at over $300 million per aircraft, this fighter is a leap into a future the world is barely prepared for, combining unmatched stealth, lightning-fast sensors, and global strike capability into a single sleek, aerodynamic silhouette. Its elongated blended fuselage defies conventional aerodynamics, hiding within it 3 revolutionary technologies that will determine the course of modern air combat: advanced radar, adaptive cycle engines, and near-invisible stealth systems. The fighter's active electronically scanned array radar, or AESA radar, is unlike anything before it, eliminating clunky mechanical components in favor of a compact, highly reliable system that can scan vast volumes of airspace and planetary surfaces with incredible speed, track multiple targets simultaneously, resist electronic warfare attacks, and detect even the most elusive stealth threats. Moving beyond traditional radar mounts, the NGAD fighter integrates smart skins into its fuselage, fusing sensing, electronic warfare, and communications into a single multimodal array, creating a seamless, godlike tactical awareness of the battlefield. This radar fusion provides super-fast scanning, spherical coverage, ultra-high-resolution sensing, precise friend or foe identification, narrow and wide beam targeting, and unmatched electronic countermeasure capabilities, all in one elegant package. Its armament suite ensures the fighter can strike targets anywhere across the globe, while its stealth systems allow it to operate undetected in hostile environments, effectively hiding in plain sight. The aircraft is more than a machine. It is a strategic deterrent, an invisible guardian capable of neutralizing threats before a conflict even begins. Just as the F-22 Raptor redefined air dominance for the last 2 decades, the NGAD fighter promises to carry American aerospace supremacy into a new era, combining speed, agility, sensor superiority, and firepower in a way that other nations can only dream of replicating. For military enthusiasts and aviation lovers, it is a glimpse into a future where war is not just fought with weapons, but with information, stealth, and precision technology that turns the very sky into an invisible battlefield. Every detail of this fighter, from its advanced adaptive cycle engines to its revolutionary AESA arrays and integrated sensor skins, speaks of a vision where physics bends, electronics dominate, and aerial supremacy is absolute, ensuring that for decades to come, the United States will remain the uncontested master of the skies. The NGAD self-sufficient active electronically scanned array radars, or AESA radars, allow upgrades in both software and hardware to happen with remarkable ease, drastically reducing the time required to test and validate multiple functions. Under the NGAD program, this capability is the cornerstone of an entire family of systems, including manned 6th-generation fighters, unmanned combat aircraft, and their shared sensor networks. Should both manned and unmanned platforms carry the same AESA radar family, integration across the fleet would become seamless, unlocking enormous economies of scale and simplifying field maintenance for operators. Fewer system types, common replacement units, and shared parts mean that maintaining the force becomes more efficient, while software updates could propagate across platforms almost instantly with a one-update-fits-all solution. Yet this extraordinary level of sensor fusion remains a delicate art, demanding exceptional skill and ingenuity to pull off. But with the brightest American minds driving the program, its mastery is not a question of if, but when. Complementing this technological marvel is the fighter's stealth, the silent guardian that turns a 20-ton flying vehicle into a ghost in the sky. Stealth is not a single piece of equipment, but a carefully orchestrated set of measures designed to evade both the human eye and the prying waves of enemy radar. The NGAD fighter's stealth combines extreme reductions in radar cross-section, infrared signature, and acoustic footprint, ensuring it moves undetected over hostile terrain. While the exact methods are tightly classified, careful analysis suggests a blend of cutting-edge materials, precise aerodynamics, and advanced heat management, all working in harmony to render the aircraft virtually invisible. The radar cross-section, the measure of how much radar energy reflects back to the source, is minimized to unprecedented levels, while its infrared emissions are carefully managed to avoid detection from heat-seeking sensors. Acoustic emissions are dampened, making even its roar nearly inaudible to adversaries below. Together, these innovations allow the NGAD fighter to approach targets globally, strike with lethal precision, and vanish without a trace. It is a machine that embodies the future of air combat, combining unmatched situational awareness, integrated unmanned and manned capabilities, and almost supernatural stealth. For enthusiasts and military professionals alike, it represents a vision where technology bends the laws of physics, information dominates the battlefield, and American air power is projected in ways the world has never seen, securing dominance for decades while redefining what it means to be untouchable in the sky. To survive in modern air combat, an aircraft must be nearly invisible, not only to the naked eye, but also to the prying eyes of radar, infrared sensors, and even sound detectors, and the NGAD fighter achieves this through a revolutionary combination of design, materials, and technology. Radar detection works by bouncing energy off aircraft, and the less energy returned, the harder it is to spot. So the NGAD fighter is sculpted with smooth, angular surfaces that deflect radar waves away from their sources rather than reflecting them back. Its design is unprecedented, with no vertical stabilizers to create reflective surfaces, making it the first fighter in history to adopt such a stealthy form. Radar-absorbent materials coat its entire frame, scattering or soaking up signals, while heat management systems, inspired by extreme Arctic technology, cools engines and exhausts, cutting down the aircraft's infrared signature. Heat sinks and exchangers redistribute thermal energy across the fuselage or release it to the surrounding air, and engines are carefully shielded to stay out of enemy infrared sensors' direct view. Acoustic stealth is equally critical. Noise can betray a mission, so the NGAD fighter is engineered to operate nearly silently, with engines, fans, and propulsive systems tuned for noise cancellation, masking, and suppression. The combination of minimal radar reflection, heat reduction, and sound suppression enables the fighter to penetrate heavily defended zones undetected, hover for critical moments, and strike with precision before vanishing into the skies. Powering this airborne ghost is an engine under development in the Next Generation Adaptive Propulsion Program, or NGAP, a subprogram of NGAD dedicated to creating a revolutionary jet engine. This engine is so advanced that nearly $3 billion in contracts have been awarded to industry giants including Pratt & Whitney, General Electric, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and Northrop Grumman, reflecting the enormous complexity and ambition of the project. Adaptive cycle technology promises engines capable of extraordinary efficiency, variable thrust, and superior speed across multiple flight regimes, complementing the fighter's stealth and avionics to produce a machine capable of dominating any airspace. Every aspect of the NGAD fighter, from its shape down to its coatings, from its heat management to its whisper-quiet propulsion, is carefully calculated to give the United States an unmatched edge in air combat. This is not merely a fighter, it is a strategic instrument, combining intelligence, stealth, and raw power into a single seamless package that can strike anywhere in the world, survive where others would be destroyed, and redefine what it means to rule the skies. For aviation enthusiasts and military professionals alike, it represents the pinnacle of aerospace ingenuity, a glimpse into a future where technology bends the laws of detection and dominance in the air becomes absolute. The NGAD fighter program is poised to redefine air combat, and the engines at its heart are central to this revolution. Some of the companies contracted to develop the NGAP engines, including 3 firms with no historical experience building jet engines, could deliver a radical new integration of airframe and propulsion, creating a fighter unlike anything seen before. These engines are adaptive cycle designs, capable of switching between high-speed, high-thrust, and long-range, high-efficiency modes at will, giving the aircraft unmatched versatility across subsonic, transonic, and supersonic flight. Using a 3-stream architecture, a third bypass stream allows the engine to divert airflow for fuel efficiency or channel it to the core for maximum power, letting the fighter enjoy the best of both worlds without compromise. When paired with the NGAD's self-sufficient AESA radars, advanced stealth coatings, and integrated sensor skins, these engines complete a platform designed to dominate any battlefield. Kinetic weapons, lasers, and an arsenal of precision-guided munitions make the fighter an undetectable, unstoppable force. The Air Force's vision, revealed by Secretary Lieutenant Colonel Frank Kendall, calls for 200 NGAD fighters operating alongside 300 F-35 Lightning IIs, each supported by 2 unmanned loyal wingmen, forming a 500-strong integrated fleet of 5th and 6th generation aircraft. With over $4.2 billion already invested, an additional $11.7 billion slated between fiscal years 2024 and 2027, and at least $40 billion more expected over the coming years, the NGAD fighter represents the largest leap in American jet propulsion and aerial combat in decades, and is expected to enter service around the 2030s to succeed the F-22 Raptor as the world's top air superiority fighter. If the B-21 can outmatch the NGRD, then sixth-generation fighters from rival nations may stand little chance at all. Its stealth, advanced sensors, and unmatched firepower make it a near-untouchable force, redefining aerial dominance and leaving adversaries scrambling against a stealthy, lethal, and unmatched American aerial force. Nuclear warheads are the most destructive weapons known to mankind, and Russia possesses more than 6,000 of them, more than any other nation, including the United States. The sheer amount of this power in the hands of a country that isn't an ally, combined with worries that Russia might use these weapons in its conflict with Ukraine if things don't go their way, is a huge concern for the U.S. To address this threat, the U.S. military has developed some of the fastest aircraft ever, the B-21 Raider. But what exactly makes the B-21 Raider so special? Join us as we unveil why Russia is terrified by the new U.S. B-21 bomber. This state-of-the-art bomber is a more advanced version of the B-2 Spirit. The B-21 Raider is designed to showcase the power of the U.S. Air Force, much like the B-2 does today, sending a strong message to potential adversaries, just as the B-2 currently does in places like Australia. Australia is a crucial ally and friend to the U.S., so when China started acting aggressively towards its friend in the Indo-Pacific region, the U.S. quickly boosted its military presence in Australia. They did this by sending 4 B-2 Spirit stealth bombers, which are now stationed at the Royal Australian Air Force Base in Amberley, Queensland. This powerful display sends a message to China that the B-2 bombers, originally designed during the Cold War to counter Russia, are fully capable of targeting Chinese threats as well. These 4 B-2 bombers make up 20% of the entire U.S. Air Force's B-2 fleet and are a key part of America's long-range strike capabilities. Each B-2 bomber costs $2 billion, making it the most expensive aircraft ever built and extremely powerful. Since its introduction 25 years ago, it remains the stealthiest aircraft in operation. With a range of over 11,500 miles on a single refueling, the B-2 can reach any location in the world within hours, capable of deploying up to 16 nuclear bombs while staying virtually undetectable. The B-2 bomber is a marvel of aviation, but it's about to get a successor that will outshine it in every way. Introducing the B-21 Raider, a cutting-edge bomber set to make its first flight in 2023. The B-21 Raider is designed to be a long-range, heavy payload, stealth bomber capable of striking targets across the globe with both conventional and nuclear weapons. Northrop Grumman, the same company behind the B-2, is developing the B-21 Raider. This new bomber is packed with advanced technology, making it a 5th-generation global precision attack platform. It will feature network sensors and shooting capabilities, ensuring it can hit targets accurately and stay relevant in the 21st century. This is why it's named the B-21, symbolizing its role as the bomber for the 21st century. Despite being the latest and greatest, the B-21 will initially operate alongside older bombers like the Rockwell B-1 Lancer, Boeing B-52 Stratofortress, and the B-2 Spirit. Eventually, it will replace these older models. Northrop Grumman's winning bid was no surprise given their extensive experience with the B-2. To bring the B-21 to life, Northrop Grumman is collaborating with a top-tier team of 7 of the world's largest manufacturers. This all-star team of suppliers ensures that every aspect of the B-21 is built to perfection, paving the way for the next era of strategic bombers. This team of suppliers includes several top-notch companies: American aerospace manufacturer Pratt & Whitney, Europe's largest defense contractor BAE Systems, the world's leading aerostructures manufacturer Spirit Aerosystems, Northrop Grumman's Orbital ATK, Rockwell Collins, GKN Aerospace, and Janicki Industries. These 7 companies, led by Northrop Grumman, aim to create a groundbreaking bomber. This bomber will not only be able to gather intelligence, but also manage battles and intercept enemy aircraft. What makes this bomber truly special is its advanced technology. It will have intelligent sensors that can detect threats from far away, stealth features that make it invisible to radar, powerful weapons capable of massive destruction, and a flexible design that allows for quick upgrades with new technology. According to Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall III, the bomber might even have a drone flying alongside it to handle smaller missions. This unique feature is usually seen only in next-generation fighters like the undetected FCOS and Tempest. So far, the B-21 is the only American bomber with this capability. Due to its advanced features, the U.S. Air Force is eager to acquire as many B-21s as possible. They plan to buy at least 100, and possibly up to 200, which is almost 10 times the size of their current B-2 fleet. However, with a price tag similar to the B-2, acquiring 200 B-21 SE would cost an astounding $400 billion. Achieving this goal will require significant cost efficiency. The exact cost of these aircraft remains unknown, as the Air Force keeps these details secret to prevent revealing too much about the classified project to potential adversaries who are working on their competing aircraft. The Panicking is set to become a new long-range bomber for the Russian Air Force, designed to evade detection while carrying a diverse arsenal for combat. It will be a subsonic aircraft featuring a large capacity for various weapons: cruise missiles, hypersonic missiles, precise conventional bombs, and even nuclear bombs. Its design, reminiscent of the American B-21, emphasizes a sleek flying wing structure. Similar to its U.S. counterpart, the PAC-DA integrates cutting-edge electronic warfare and stealth technologies. These advancements enable it to minimize radar visibility and reduce the heat signature from its engines. However, Russia traditionally values firepower over stealth, contrasting with American approaches. Therefore, the PAC-DA may not match the stealth capabilities of the B-21, similar to how the Russian Su-57 is less stealthy than the American F-22 and F-35. The Su-57 is regarded as the least stealthy among fifth-generation fighters. Russia is likely to improve its military capabilities as usual, especially with the new PAC-DA bomber, which could carry up to 80,000 pounds of weapons. This capacity might be more than that of the B-21 bomber. Similar to how the Su-57 fighter jet is better than both the F-22 and F-35, the PAC-DA is expected to start operating by the late 2020s. This creates an interesting competition among the US, Russia, and China, where China's H-20 is also entering as a fifth-generation bomber. China's H-20 bomber is entering this top category, resembling the B-21 and PAC-DA with its flying wing design. Although details are limited, confirmed images show its advanced features such as a weapons bay, airborne radar, adjustable tail wings, and stealthy air intakes. The H-20 is China's first native stealth bomber, expected to fly at speeds below the sound barrier and armed with various types of missiles, including hypersonic and nuclear ones. While the H-20 seems furthest from being deployed among its peers, this delay may allow it to make a strong debut if it meets expectations. The B-21 Raider, benefiting from decades of development since its predecessor, the B-2, has set a high standard in bomber technology worldwide. Its advanced engines, electronics, armament, and cost efficiency make it a powerful asset for the U.S. and its allies. Recently, during the Spirit Vigilance 22 training exercise, history was made with a significant event, an impressive lineup of 8 B-2 stealth bombers in what is known as an elephant walk. This display holds particular importance because, until the new B-21 bomber is fully operational, the B-2 remains the United States' most powerful and strategically crucial aircraft. Not only is it powerful, but it's also incredibly expensive, with each bomber costing around $2 billion. Currently, the Air Force operates a fleet of only 20 B-2s, making the participation of 8 of them in this elephant walk a substantial 40% of their total fleet. Captain Richard Collier, the Director of Operations for the Spirit Vigilance exercise, emphasized that this display was more than just a show. It was a preparation. It aimed to showcase the Air Force's capabilities to potential adversaries, including near-peer rivals like North Korea and China. Not long after this event, North Korea conducted a test of its Hwasong-17 intercontinental ballistic missile, demonstrating its capability to strike deep into the United States. Similarly, China also recently organized its own bomber elephant walk, featuring 8 of its advanced H-6K bombers, akin to the U.S. display. China is also developing its next-generation bomber, the H-20, which draws inspiration from the B-2's design, much like how the B-21 Raider is influenced by its predecessor. Scheduled to roll out in 2022 and take its first flight in 2023, the B-21 Raider represents the future of U.S. air power. It is designed to be an advanced stealth bomber capable of carrying heavy payloads over long distances, aligning with Theodore Roosevelt's "speak softly and carry a big stick" foreign policy. In essence, the B-21 Raider is poised to become the most formidable weapon in America's arsenal. The technology of the B-21 bomber is very advanced, designed to improve its abilities across different missions. It uses cutting-edge technology for gathering important information in reconnaissance and surveillance. In managing battles, it plays a crucial role by connecting allies in various operational areas. As a sixth-generation global precision attack platform, it excels in being hard to see, carrying lots of weapons, and delivering America's most powerful weapons accurately to important targets. The B-21's invisibility is assured through modern features developed over many years. Its stealth design includes angled edges, rough skin panels, and hiding engines under a special skin. The plane's overall shape also adds to its ability to stay hidden. Like its older model, the B-2, the B-21 will likely be covered in special paint that stops reflections, making it less visible during the day. At very high altitudes, over 50,000 feet, the bomber fits in with the sky, helped by its bottom, made to hide it. To keep this stealth advantage in different kinds of light, the B-21 has a sensor that faces up. This sensor tells the pilot when to change height, keeping the plane hidden from even the best air defense systems. All this modern technology makes the B-21 a powerful tool, able to do important missions without being seen. To improve the B-21 bomber's effectiveness compared to earlier models, it will have advanced electronic systems that are integrated into one unit. These systems include a radar with multiple functions, a fully digital navigation system combined with radar that follows the terrain and GPS, a navigation system that uses stars and planets for precise navigation, an advanced radar for accurate scanning, a system for electronic warfare, a system that captures images from different viewpoints, and a system for aiming using light, among others. For communicating during battles, the B-21 will use Link 16 and a satellite link that uses high frequencies. It also has a system for managing defense that warns the flight crew about possible dangers and allows for changing mission plans in real time. This means the airplane can quickly adjust to new information and plan the safest routes, which is very important for the safety of the whole group. Similar to the F-35 Lightning II fighter, the B-21 will be the main center in a system that combines different senses so it can smartly manage fights. For weapons, the B-21 can carry more than 30,000 pounds of weapons, like nuclear ones, such as the B-61 bomb, and long-range missiles that fly without a pilot. Apart from these strong weapons, it is also ready for many different kinds of weapons, so it can be used in all sorts of fights all over the world. The B-21 bomber is built to carry Lockheed Martin's strong anti-ship missile, along with other advanced weapons like Boeing's GPS-guided bombs. These features make the B-21 a top pick for secret operations, especially in tough places like the South China Sea, where it can effectively attack ships from far away. To stay ahead in a quickly changing battlefield, the B-21 was designed with a flexible structure, making it easy to add new updates quickly. With its many abilities, the B-21 Raider costs about $630 million each, which fits with what the Air Force planned in the early 2010s for a bomber that could compete well against its rivals. When it comes to competition, the B-21 goes up against the Russian PAC-DA and the Chinese H-20, which are both designed similarly as long-range strategic bombers with wing shapes that help them fly. These planes are expected to go at speeds slower than sound and carry various weapons like cruise and very fast missiles, plus advanced electronic warfare and invisible technologies. However, while the B-21 focuses on being invisible, the PAC-DA might be more about other abilities like big guns, which could mean it's less invisible. This mix of advanced bomber tech from the United States, Russia, and China sets the stage for a very interesting future in air warfare, where each nation's choices will decide how these strong planes are developed and used. The new B-21 bomber, called the B-21 Raider, is set to become a cornerstone of America's air defense plan. With a potential arsenal of up to 80,000 weapons, it far exceeds the confirmed payload of the B-21 at more than 30,000 pounds and the undisclosed capability of China's H-20 bomber. The United States has a strong advantage in stealth technology and bomber development, likely putting it ahead in schedules for these advanced aircraft. Currently, the B-21 is the only one of those three bombers that has been publicly shown and is soon to be operational, following its predecessor, the B-2 Spirit. After 13 years of development, the B-21 is expected to be fully ready by 2027, marking an important moment for America's strategic Air Force. It will work alongside upgraded B-52 bombers and is planned to eventually replace the supersonic B-1 Lancer and the B-2 Spirit, which have been the main bomber fleets for over 3 decades. The Air Force is positive about the B-21's capabilities, considering buying up to 145 units, a much larger fleet than the B-2S ever had. This new bomber, the B-21 Raider, represents the future of American air power, with advanced technology and capabilities aimed at keeping peace and security. The B-21 Raider isn't ready for action yet. Let's imagine a future conflict where the big bombers of 2 nations face off in the biggest war since World War II. The result may depend on which bomber is better. One competitor is the Tupolev Tu-160, also called the Blackjack. This plane is an amazing creation from a country that hasn't made impressive planes in a long time. The Tu-160, nicknamed White Swan in Russian, is the largest and heaviest military plane ever, capable of going faster than Mach 2. It's second only to the American XB-70 in size and speed. While there are faster planes, like the XB-70 prototype, the Blackjack is made for high-speed, deep missions into enemy territory to drop bombs, whether they're regular or nuclear. Today, it's the biggest and fastest bomber globally, using technology like adjustable sweep wings from the famous American F-14 Tomcat. Starting in 1967, the Tu-160 came from the Soviet Union's understanding that traditional bombers were no longer safe in the age of advanced jets. Instead of using stealth like the Americans, the Soviets chose sheer speed and payload, a plan that worked very well. In 1972, the Soviets started a contest to create a bomber with wings that could change shape and fly at speeds up to Mach 2.3. This design would have made it hard for existing missiles on the ground to catch them, as they couldn't move fast enough or turn quickly to hit the bomber effectively. The wings that could change shape were very important for this bomber to work well at both slower and faster speeds than sound. These wings allowed the plane to change its form, making it work best at high speeds. The Soviet bomber, called the Blackjack, was made to be like the American B-1. However, the B-1 plan was stopped later because the United States changed focus to making bombers that were hard to see and making the B-2 bomber. Being hard to see was seen as more effective than being fast at keeping bombers safe. At the start, just a few models of the B-1 were made before the project was put on hold. Later, it started again in 1981 because of problems with the B-2 program. The first version of the B-1 was shown to the public in November 1981 when someone on a plane took a picture of it at Zhukovsky Airfield. After lots of testing and making changes, the Blackjack was allowed to be made in big numbers in 1984. Even though it did well, only 36 Blackjack bombers were made in the end, with 27 used for flying and 9 for testing. This was much fewer compared to the American B-1, where 101 were made. The Soviet Union had money problems, made worse by the war in Afghanistan, and this made it hard to make many Blackjacks. However, the new Russian Federation faced a problem with the Blackjack bomber. Originally designed for long-range, high-speed nuclear missions during the Cold War, its role needed to change towards conventional warfare in the post-Cold War era. By 2002, all 15 remaining Tu-160S underwent upgrades aimed at adjusting them for modern combat needs. These upgrades had both successes and failures. The changes made it possible for the aircraft to carry various non-nuclear weapons, such as the KH-555 air-launched cruise missile. Additionally, improvements were made in communication, navigation, and engine life extension. However, plans to update the aircraft's electronic system were canceled due to high costs. It wasn't until 2014 that the first modern radar and electronic suites were finally installed. Efforts to update the Blackjack were further slowed by corruption within the defense ministry and challenges within the Russian industry and defense budget. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, many skilled experts and the companies they worked for became part of newly independent nations. This forced the Russian Federation to rebuild these capabilities domestically with varying degrees of success. Russian firms struggled, as they historically have, to develop advanced engines. By August 2022, only 5 out of the 17-strong Blackjack fleet had received new engines. This slow progress highlighted ongoing challenges in revitalizing Russia's defense capabilities amid a complicated geopolitical landscape. After the Soviet Union fell apart, Ukraine got 19 big bombers, more than half of all Soviet planes. Russia bought 11 of them after long talks, and the other 8 were destroyed under the Nunn-Lugar Agreement. 20 years later, Ukraine regrets this choice. Even though the bombers hadn't been made for a long time, Russia decided in 2008 to start making them again, aiming for a fleet of 50 Blackjack planes. However, Russian industry had big problems after the Soviet Union broke up and during Vladimir Putin's time as president, including losing skilled workers in areas like using electron beams and making titanium parts. Russia finally put together a new Tu-160 bomber by November 2017, although it wasn't finished. They plan to start making a lot of them in 2019 and send new planes by 2023. In 2018, the first new Blackjack bomber in more than 30 years did its first test flight successfully. But because of worldwide punishment against Russia, the delivery of 2 new planes by 2022 was blocked. In January 2022, one Tu-160 did a test flight from a Kazan aviation plant airfield. This making of the Blackjack again looks like when the US decided in the 1980s to start making the B-1 bomber again. But it's just for now because of delays in Russia's stealth bomber plan, called Pac-Day. Now, both plans could have unsure futures because of these punishments. Even though people think there are 17 Tu-160 bombers, only 11 are said to be working now. Every bomber has 4 strong NK-32 engines, the best engines ever used on a warplane. This lets the 110-ton bomber go as fast as Mach 2.05, a thing the US B-1 Lancer gave up to be harder to see on radar. The Tu-160 can bring up to 44,000 pounds of bombs or nuclear missiles inside, and it can also put long-range missiles outside. This gives it big power in battle and lets it go up to 6,500 miles without stopping, which can be made longer with the air refueling if needed. In the blue corner stands America's latest marvel, the B-21 Raider, a bomber that remains largely a mystery since it's not yet in active service. Even details about its predecessor, the B-2 bomber, have been scarce despite its 4-decade history. This secrecy suggests that uncovering the true potential of the B-21 Raider may take time, but we can still make educated guesses. Similar to the Blackjack, the B-21 Raider is a strategic bomber designed under the U.S. Air Force's Long-Range Strike Bomber program. Its unveiling in December 2022 was so secretive that only its front was revealed, and photographers were kept hundreds of feet away. Planning for the B-21 began in 2011 in response to growing threats from China and Russia. The aircraft was developed to counter sophisticated defenses and deliver precise strikes effectively. Unlike its older counterpart, the B-2, the B-21 is versatile and designed for both conventional and nuclear missions. This shift also signaled the potential retirement of the aging B-52 fleet, showing the Air Force's commitment to modernization. In 2014, the Air Force initiated research and invited industry proposals for a new bomber. The B-21 Raider specifications, including its size, stealth capabilities, engines, weapons, and sensors, remain classified. In October 2016, the Government Accountability Office mentioned costs as the reason for choosing the Northrop Grumman design over Boeing and Lockheed's proposals. The decision was based on financial factors rather than traditional considerations for weapon programs. Managing the entire B-21 program, the Air Force Rapid Capabilities Office aims to swiftly address emerging battlefield threats. This office is specifically structured to bypass bureaucracy and adopt ready-made solutions whenever feasible. Assigning the Rapid Capabilities Office to oversee the B-21 program underscores the urgent need perceived by the U.S. for the aircraft to become operational quickly. Northrop Grumman describes the B-21 as the world's first sixth-generation aircraft. Beyond its role as a bomber, the B-21 is designed to function as an intelligence collector, battle manager, and interceptor, showcasing its versatility. With advanced sensor and targeting capabilities, the B-21 can penetrate heavily defended airspace and guide other aircraft's weapons to their targets covertly. Initially planning for 100 B-21s, the Air Force envisions expanding the fleet to between 175 and 200 aircraft. Leveraging engine similarities with the F-35 could significantly reduce costs, potentially making the B-21 the first affordable stealth bomber. Despite historical budget constraints, by February 2022, 6 B-21 Raiders were in production, with the first public flight scheduled for 2023. The program's secrecy is so tight that the Air Force refuses to disclose the total contract costs, citing security concerns. Each B-21 is estimated to cost about $700 million, considerably less than the B-2 bomber. Australia has shown interest in acquiring B-21 to bolster its defense against potential threats in the South Pacific, where its current fleet of F-35s may be insufficient. The U.S. has expressed openness to Australia participating in the B-21 program. Comparing the B-21 to Russia's Tu-160, the latter holds advantages in speed and payload size, but the B-21's stealth and precision strike capabilities make it a formidable opponent. Designed for smart warfare, the B-21 targets critical military nodes to disrupt enemy operations effectively. In terms of longevity and environmental impact, the B-21 offers advantages over the Tu-160, as it does not emit harmful substances during takeoff. Despite the Tu-160's combat experience, the B-21's advanced technology and sustained funding are expected to ensure its operational superiority in the long term. The Kremlin has finally decided to go head-to-head with the top nations like the United States and China in producing a new stealth bomber that is about to change the game. The concept of war has historically favored the team that dominates the skies, and Russia seems well poised to strike fear into the hearts of potential opponents with its new bomber. How did the world react to the sight of the behemoth? Could Russia be on the verge of triggering another arms race? Join us as we discuss the amazing features of Russia's new stealth bomber. Rumors of Russia's new stealth bomber have taken a stranglehold of worldwide military space since the early 2020s. However, the wait is finally over. It is coming, and it is a monster. Unlike the very first types of Russian bombers, including the Tupolev Tu-95 and the Tupolev Tu-160, which rely on brute lethal force and speed as their greatest features, the new Russian stealth bomber, PAKDA, relies on invisibility as its greatest feature. Just how does anyone fight a bomber they cannot even see? Although rumors of this bomber became prominent in the 2020s, the Kremlin has secretly had it in the works since the late 1990s, when the Russian government decided on a need for a new strategic bomber with different types of technical and tactical requirements compared to its predecessors. Having drawn out a design for the bomber, the Russian Air Force needed to come to a decision about which company should be given the privilege of building the Kremlin's next-generation bomber. After many deliberations, they came to a unanimous decision to have the bomber built by Tupolev Design Bureau in 2007 before the finances were released to fund the project in 2008. However, questions begin to linger about the details of the design, especially after rumors of a possible replication of the Tupolev Tu-160, owing to its ability to travel at supersonic speed. But it was soon debunked by a public address from then Prime Minister Vladimir Putin, who implied that the new bomber would be a completely different design, which was an exciting prospect as well, since the United States and China had just unveiled their B-21 Raider and the H-20 respectively. Although there has been no press release or any form of publication confirming that the new stealth bomber was a direct geopolitical message to the forces of the West, which have consistently flexed their military might, there are theories stemming from Russia that the new bomber was an example of Russia taking the lead in the arms marathon that has silently been afoot since the World War. From Vladimir Putin's interview, it was almost too easy to tell that this was more than just some aircraft. It was a geopolitical weapon with a direct message of mutually assured destruction to the West. While the Raiders in the H-20s have dominated aerial warfare for a long time, owing to their beastly presence in combat, how much of a threat is Russia's new PAK-DA bomber? Like General Giulio Douhet once said, "He who controls the air controls everything," and Russia is definitely not oblivious to the fact. Ergo, the deliberation to create a bomber that matches up to the intensity of Raiders and H-20s. The Russian Air Force had quickly figured out that aerial warfare was moving slightly away from speed and creeping towards more intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, or ISR warfare. Hence, they followed suit with the proposal of creating their own stealth bomber, capable of producing both hunter and killer functions. For some context, the Tu-160, manufactured by the same company in charge of the new stealth bomber, was designed to be a hunter mission bomber aircraft. It is a supersonic, variable sweep-wing, nuclear-capable heavy strategic bomber designed for hunter missions. It was commissioned to service in 1987, serving as both a conventional and nuclear bomber, following the requirement of the Soviet Union in 1967. The Tu-160 was designed with the perfect aerodynamic cheat code with the deliberate attachment of a variable geometry wing. The variable geometry wing, or swing wing in popular parlance, was designed to optimize all levels of movement, ranging from takeoff and landing to cruising. For instance, when the wings are in full extension, they give low-speed stability and do not require the regular length of a runway to take off or land. Hence, it makes it easier for the Tu-160 bomber to operate from varied airfields and carry huge payloads. While there is a huge chance that the bomber's aerodynamic wings could be optimized or manipulated to perform hunter missions, its sheer size negates its potential impact on avoiding the A2AD aircraft defense mechanism used by most top nations. Although the swing wings are relevant to attaining low-speed stability, when they are swept back, the aircraft becomes more aerodynamic and can attain and sustain supersonic speed, with little to no drags, as the aircraft travels at Mach 5. The Tu-160's ability to perform a wide range of missions because of its flexibility has made it a threat to the West and the big players in the Indo-Pacific regions, like China. Its mission flexibility gives it wiggle room to go from subsonic speed to supersonic, making it the best of both worlds, and op countries around the world have struggled to keep up with it. However, that just wasn't enough for the Kremlin. They wanted more, or maybe less, considering the fact that they want the PAK-DA to focus on stealth more than speed, and reaching that decision by enforcing the decision that it is only retrofitted with subsonic speed. On September 3, 2009, the Russian Defense Ministry awarded Tupolev Design Bureau a 3-year research and development contract to undertake studies for the new long-range bomber. According to the President General Designer of Tupolev, Igor Shevchuk, this should be a fundamentally new aircraft based on conceptually new solutions. However, for a country with the number of aircraft and bombers that the Kremlin possesses, there is always going to be that one voice who questions the need for more. For some context, on June 12, 2012, then Deputy Prime Minister Dmitry Rogozin questioned the need for a new long-range bomber, pointing out the immense progress that Russia and their archenemy, the West, were making in aerial and anti-missile defense technology, reinforcing his point that spending billions of taxpayers' money on an aircraft when they know the difficulty of breaching these new aerial defenses. Although he had made his point, the Chief of the General Staff, Nikolai Makarov, responded by stating that the Kremlin's intention to put in the work and build this bomber revolves around creating a monster behemoth in the air that is much more superior to the United States. His statement was indirectly backed up by President Vladimir Putin on the 14th of the same month, who hammered on the importance of getting a new long-range bomber regardless of the impact of the Tupolev Tu-160s. By 2013, the PAK-DA team had finally reached a decision to focus on the stealth options on the PAK-DA, while also giving it a subsonic flying wing. Although there were published articles going against the decision to only add a subsonic flying wing, the rationale behind it was pretty simple. Russia already has bombers capable of subsonic and supersonic speed. Hence, they wanted something different in speed and size, but just flexible enough to perform both hunter and killer missions in a single run. The PAKDA's flying wing is a tailless, fixed-wing aircraft that has no definite fuselage, with its crew, payload, fuel, and equipment housed inside the main wing structure. However, it would have various small protuberances such as pods, nacelles, blisters, booms, or vertical stabilizers. The design gives the aircraft a flat shape while flying at the speed of a regular commercial plane, making it nigh impossible to detect by radar. However, the aircraft is much more potent than the deliberately shunted speed limit on the subsonic level. For a hunter mission, its ability to travel at the same speed as an airplane while having a flat shape, looking almost like a single wing hovering in the skies, gives it the advantage and leverage to get closer to its mark when it needs to perform killer missions. This design struck the perfect balance between stealth missions and killer missions. Although the designs bordered along the lines of perfection, there was one hiccup. How exactly does the flat-back plane hide all of its payload without drag and also be able to deploy hypersonic missiles without getting spotted? The Russian Defense Ministry had designed the flat-back bomber with stealth and killer missions in mind. Ergo, they found ways to integrate the fuselage and other parts of the aircraft into the flying wing, drawing inspiration from the single-bay design of the American B-2 Spurt, their direct competitor. But how does a subsonic flying wing aircraft carry and unleash a payload of hypersonic weapons and hit its target? The rationale was rather simple. Since the missions were flexible, meaning that the aircraft could be on a double mission in one run, hunting and killing its targets, the payloads are tucked neatly in the aircraft's body, making it impossible to spot even with A2AD aerial defenses. While the plane flies at subsonic speed and gets closer to its mark, the bay opens and the hypersonic missile is dropped on its target. However, the missile isn't fired from the aircraft. Instead, it is released at normal speed. Then the engine on the missile sets it up to go faster than Mach 5 and explodes on impact. The aircraft was designed to carry payloads the size of the Kh-47M2. The Kh-47M2 is a Russian air-launched ballistic missile with an estimated range of 460 to 480 kilometers and a reported top speed of Mach 10, which is twice the speed of sound. It can carry either conventional or nuclear warhead and can be launched by two 22M3 bombers, MiG-31K interceptors, modified Su-34 fighter bomber, and very soon the PAK-DA. Even before the advent of the PAK-DA, the Kh-47M2 had already been deployed on numerous war missions by the Russian Air Force. However, its most recent deployment has taken the most sting out of the West in the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. The United States has openly supported Ukraine and given them war support to keep them in a fight with Russia, who apparently has the stronger military and better military weapons on land, air, and the seas. However, during the Biden-Harris administration, President Joe Biden, in March 2022, confirmed that Russia deployed hypersonic missiles in Ukraine, which he described as almost impossible to stop. The message was clear. Russia has a missile that is nigh untrackable, making them even more dangerous than they were. And this time, they are in the process of manufacturing a flying wing subsonic bomber that easily escapes the radar and is capable of carrying the Kh-47M2. This perfectly balanced bomber was more than just technology. It was a message well received from Russia to the rest of the world. However, it wasn't until April 2014 that the head of Russia's United Aircraft Corporation, otherwise called UAC, Mikhail Pogosyan, announced that the Tupolev Design Bureau had finalized the design and that the project was moving to the intermediate phase, signaling the completion of the design and construction of a prototype. And that was Russia's first hiccup. The Russian Defense Ministry demanded 5 billion Russian rubles to prepare the Kazan Aircraft Production Association plant in Kazan. As expected, the old voices of reason, who believed that the country already had enough long-range bombers, were back asking the same questions. However, the Kremlin responded by releasing the requested 5 billion Russian rubles, which were allocated to reconstructing and re-equipping the Kazan Aircraft Production Association plant in Kazan. While it was widely reported in Russia that the first full-size model of the bomber was built, Amongst various scale mock-ups of different configurations on March 1, 2017, it wasn't released openly, hence the public only had verbal knowledge of the aircraft. It wasn't long before doubt had started to set in, with rumors of PAKDA being a ruse making the rounds. However, in July 2018, the United Engine Corporation, otherwise called the UEC, and Tupolev, the company that was commissioned with the responsibility of building the PAKDA, revealed that they had just signed a contract for the creation of the bomber's power plant. However, questions lingered on how they decided to create the power plant. Was it going to be some new groundbreaking idea, or was it going to come from an already established engine? Soon there were released reports that suggest a possible upgrade from the Kuznetsov NK-32 engine. In the same year, the Kremlin reportedly allocated 8 billion Russian rubles for the development of this new engine, which was contracted to JSC Kuznetsov in Samara. Although the specifications of the engine have been a well-guarded secret, its potential performances have been heavily publicized. The engine is rumored to provide the PAKDA with the required force to perform a 30-hour non-stop mission without having to refuel. But it gets even better, as it also comes with a temperature-resistant feature, protecting it from the effects of a nuclear explosion and a service life between 12 to 21 years. While the engines remained in construction, the PAKDA's final draft was finally approved, and the construction in the plant began in late 2019. Although Tupolev kept the construction process away from the media, Russia's state-owned news agency, the TASS, reported on May 26, 2020, that the very first PAKDA, which will be the finished article, was already in construction and will be finished in early 2023. Although Tupolev were the leading constructors, they had help from companies like NPP's Vesta, which announced at the 2021 Max Air Show that his company was in the process of completing the construction of the PAKDA's ejection seats and hoped to hand them over to Tupolev in 2023, the proposed date for the first sighting of the massive aircraft. While speculations of the KH-47M2 being the main hypersonic weapon to be fitted into the PAKDA's weapons bay had consistently made the rounds on the internet, on August 2021, it was announced that a new long-range, nuclear-capable hypersonic cruise missile, the KH-95, was under development to be fitted inside the PAKDA's weapon bay. Although the Kremlin has earmarked aerial warfare dominance, specifically over the United States, as the reason for funding the creation of the PAKDA, there is growing evidence that the possible integration of a hypersonic missile carrying a nuclear warhead might be an overkill, but is capable of changing aerial warfare forever. Could Russia finally take the giant leap over the United States and China, who have recently been at the top of the food chain in aerial combat? Could the creation of the PAKDA spark a new global arms race? While the world holds its breath in grievous anticipation of Russia's release of the PAKDA, the United States and China have decided to raise the stakes even further, especially the United States, who are now looking to upgrade their long-range bombers. But just how does their Northrop Grumman B-21 Raider fare, in contrast with the PAKDA? America developed its Long-Range Strike Bomber, or LSB program in 2011, with only one goal in mind: aerial dominance. Over the years, aerial warfare has hit a fever pitch, and there is no bringing it down. Hence the hot pursuit of top countries who are looking to not only get in on the action, but be at the very top of the food chain. Hence America's decision to come up with the B-21 Raider. The Raider is proposed to be a stealth intercontinental strategic bomber that can deliver conventional and thermonuclear weapons. Named Raider in honor of the Doolittle Raiders of the Second World War, the B-21 is meant to replace the Rockwell B-1 Lancer and Northrop B-2 Spirit by 2040, and possibly the Boeing B-52 Stratofortress after that. Although, just like the PAKDA, the B-21 Raider has been touted for a release in 2023, especially since the first flight of the Raider already occurred on November 10, 2023, and 3 of them, which were considered airworthy, were involved in program testing in September 2024. However, neither nation has fully released their new bombers. Although there are reports of technical delays, like with the PAKDA, where the sanctions following the Kremlin's invasion of Ukraine, starting the Russo-Ukrainian War in 2022, have been rumored to halt their momentum, and the B-21 Raider has been touted to be undergoing early-stage flight testing. There are other geopolitical rumors that have effortlessly made the rounds in the media. For some context, there are speculations that both countries are in the middle of a game of chicken, seeing who blinks first, with hopes that the first release is assessed by the other country, who then upgrades theirs to remain on top of the food chain. Although the speculations seem to have stuck because neither nation has presented their aircraft in the timeline that they proposed, Russia has come flying out of the gates in a rush to defend their position. Russian Deputy Prime Minister Denis Manturov has openly discussed the common struggles with schedules around the world, but he assures Russia and the entire world that the sanctions following the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine would not affect the timing of the creation of the PAKDA, as the bomber does not contain any foreign components. Although he made these bold claims in 2022, promising that the aircraft would be completed by 2026, with a prototype ready by 2023, as of June 2025, there are still no reports of a prototype. While the world waits for this new stealth subsonic behemoth bomber capable of hosting and launching hypersonic missiles with nuclear warheads, the potential reaction of other top countries remains to be seen, as aerial warfare might change forever. The US has created a bomber with capabilities that the world would never recover from, the B-21 Raider. This strategic bomber is not just a game changer, it has single-handedly redefined military strategies, making other nations alarmed. With its stealthy features, its unrefined lethality, and next-generation designs, this bomber made other technologically advanced nations like China and Russia terrified. Why is the world afraid of this strategic bomber? What makes this bomber different and better than China's giant H-20 bomber? Join us as we unravel the mysteries behind the American first B-21 Raider that the whole world is afraid of. With a huge investment of $630 million, 7 years of undivided devotion towards creating a masterpiece, and over 25 years of dominance, the United States strategic bomber has sent chills to the heart of its adversaries. The B-20 Raider is one of a kind, and that's not all. It is designed with features that makes it unrivaled. Not even China's new Xi'an H-20 bomber can be compared to this technological marvel. Or can it? Let's get into their specifications. The B-21 Raider is a new bomber being made for the United States Air Force. This bomber was part of a program called Long Range Strike Bomber, with the aim to develop a strategic bomber with next-generation features that would replace the old bombers. It is designed with the ability to fly long distances for a long period of time and stay hidden from enemies. Stealthy features. It can also carry different types of weapons, including powerful ones like nuclear bombs or just regular bombs. The Raider marks a significant advancement in aircraft technology, being the world's first sixth-generation bomber, which is similar to the sixth-generation NGAD fighter, which is currently under development. The program began in 2011, and it started a fierce competition among aerospace giants Boeing, Lockheed Martin team, and Northrop Grumman. After 4 years of intense competition, Northrop Grumman, leveraging its extensive experience with stealth bombers from the B-2, secured the contract to develop the B-21. Their proposal stood out for offering the most cost-effective solution while meeting the Air Force's requirements. Cost considerations also played a very important role in the development of this bomber, which is a lesson learned from the exorbitant expenses associated with the B-2 program. The cost per unit aircraft of the B-2 was so high that it rivaled the GDPs of some nations. Therefore, ensuring cost efficiency while delivering the desired capabilities was a priority in the development of the B-21 Raider. To be more economical in the process of building it, Northrop Grumman had to eventually team up with about 400 suppliers across 40 states, all operating continuously for the past 7 years, even during the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. These suppliers are 7 of the world's most reputable companies as Tier 1 suppliers of the program, like jet engine manufacturer Pratt & Whitney, the largest defense contractor in Europe, BAE Systems, the world's largest first-tier aerostructures manufacturer, Spirit AeroSystems, Northrop Grumman's Orbital ATK, Rockwell Collins, GKN Aerospace, and Janicki Industries. All these companies, led by Northrop Grumman, work together to create the B-21, a bomber that costs $630 million and that boasts next-generation capabilities. Compared to the B-2, the B-21 Raider is about 68% cheaper while being much more capable than the previously developed and even more expensive strategic bomber. Even though it benefits from over 2 decades of technological advancements, it's still an impressive military aircraft, deadly in its capabilities. The Air Force plans to get at least 100 B-21s, but they might go up to weigh 145 if the bomber passes its test without any hitch, almost literally. When it's put into service, the bomber will work alongside other strategic bombers like the B-52 Stratofortress, the B-1 Lancer, and the B-2 Spirit initially. Eventually, it will replace both of them, marking the end of their era or perhaps its continuation in a different form. In any case, the U.S. will have a bomber that can demonstrate the strength of its military across the globe, with the operational range of a ship and the firepower of modern nuclear weapons. The development of this strategic bomber with unrivaled capabilities has deeply troubled China, the United States being their #1 rival. Their next move in the bomber race might involve their new Xi'an H-20 bomber, and they're probably aware of the challenge that it would take in developing one. Interestingly, the news of the development of China's strategic bomber became public around the same time as those of the United States. However, to understand how capable the H-20 is, and if it can in any way be compared to the B-21, these bombers would need to compete directly by comparing the 3 most important factors in any bomber: stealth, avionics, and armament. Similar to its predecessor, especially the B-51, the B-21 will most definitely be designed from the start to be a stealthy plane, using what they have learned from the process of making the hard-to spot. It will have special features like edges that line up, panels on the skin that look like jagged teeth, and the engines will be hidden with special matte skin. Its shape will be like a big wing, which helps make it hard to detect by radar. Just like the B-2, it will probably be painted with a special paint that makes it hard to see during the day and avoid being spotted. Its underside will be painted dark because it flies really high, over 50,000 feet up. When it's that high, a dark color makes it blend in with the sky better. The B-21 will also have a sensor that looks up at the sky and tells the pilot to go higher or lower to match the brightness of the sky, so it's always hard to spot. To keep these stealth features working well, the B-21 might need to be kept in special hangars that have air conditioning, and that would definitely cost a lot of money to build and maintain. To make it better than previously developed bombers, it will have lots of new and high-tech avionics systems all working together. These include things like a special radar that can do many things, a digital navigation system that uses radar and GPS to help the plane fly, and a system that uses space objects to help figure out where it is. It also has a radar that can scan in different directions, a system to jam enemy communications, and cameras and sensors to spot targets. Communication is very important, and the B-21 prioritized this. This new strategic bomber can talk to other planes and ground forces using special links, and it has a system that warns the crew about dangers and can change its route to avoid them. The importance of this feature cannot be overstated because not only does it help to keep the pilot aware of his environment and potential threats, it makes it possible to avert danger, keeping both the pilot and the aircraft safe from any sort of damage. Also, for the military, this system makes the bomber really important because it's like a central hub for getting and sharing information, making it better at managing battles. To make sure everything is working okay, there's a system that checks all the avionics all the time. Now to its carrying capacity, like the aircraft before it, the B-21 should be able to carry more than 30,000 pounds of weapons, including nuclear bombs like the B-61 and long-range missiles. It can also carry regular bombs and other modern weapons, like missiles that can hit ships from far away. This makes it perfect for fighting ships in places like the South China Sea. Unfortunately for aviation lovers and people rooting for the Raider, several information concerning this bomber has been kept secret because it's a special program and also for security purposes. Details regarding how far it goes, what kind of weapons it carries, or how big it is compared to its predecessor have been undisclosed. However, some photos of the aircraft were released in December 2022 during a ceremony at Northrop Grumman's factory in California, and observers with keen eyes were able to spot a thing or two, but these are just speculations. The Raider will be maintained at Tinker Air Force Base in Oklahoma, while testing and evaluation will happen at Edwards Air Force Base in California. It will fly from bases like Dyess Air Force Base in Texas, Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota, and Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. Ellsworth was chosen to be the first base for the B-21. There was talk about using a drone alongside the B-21, but that idea was dropped because the idea was to save money, and that thought would not help with the cause. The Air Force is also planning to get a new fighter jet to protect the new bomber during missions into enemy territory. The Air Force wants to update its bomber fleet and most of its nuclear weapons for operations in the Indo-Pacific, especially concerning China. Now let's talk a bit about the B-21's predecessors, the Stratofortress. The B-52 was a lot like the B-47 Stratojet bomber that came before it in terms of technology. They both had similar designs, like wings that angled back and engines in pods. The inside of the plane also had seats that could eject if there was an emergency. In the B-52D, the pilots and the person in charge of electronic countermeasures would eject upwards, while the crew below would eject downwards. In earlier B-52 models, the person who operated the tail gun had to get rid of the gun before ejecting. In the first B-52s, the tail gunner sat at the back of the plane and used both visual and radar systems to aim the gun. In later models, the tail gunner moved to the front of the plane, and they only used radar to aim, similar to how the B-58 Hustler's tail gun worked. Because of how this bomber is meant to fly, it doesn't need to do big turns or recover from spins. It has a small rudder that can only turn the plane a little bit to the side. They originally planned to use a different kind of tail that moves all the way, but they changed their minds because they weren't sure if it would work well. Since the plane has 8 engines, if one of them stops working, it won't cause too much of a problem because the rudder can fix it. To help the aircraft land and take off when it's windy, the main landing gear can move to the side a bit. Before the plane takes off, the crew sets this up based on how windy it is. The part of the plane that controls going up and down is also small, like the rudder, so it can't move the plane a lot. To help with small changes, there's a part at the back called a stabilizer that moves up and down a little when taking off and landing, because the flaps on the wings make big changes in how the plane tilts. The B-21 would be built in such a way that it would experience no limitations in the way it flies. Also, the B-52s before the G models had small things on the wings called ailerons that helped it turn. Because the wings are thin, they can't use regular ailerons, so they used something called spoilerons instead. These were better for controlling the plane, especially when it was being refueled in the air. But the later models got rid of the ailerons and just used more spoilerons. Because of this change, those models could wobble more when flying. This bomber got upgraded in the 1970s, and these upgrades enabled it to carry up to 20 nuclear missiles and air-launched cruise missiles. They chose the Boeing AGM-86B missile for it, fitting 194 planes to carry them, and some planes had a special launcher for them. They also made some changes to the planes so satellites could recognize them easily. If the B-52 is this heavily armed and can carry that much nuclear weapons, just imagine how formidable the new B-21 Raider would be. Later, they made more changes to the Stratofortress that were not designed to carry missiles to make them better at dropping regular bombs. They also added new systems to manage bombs and made pylons under the wings to carry bigger bombs. Some planes were even fitted to carry anti-ship missiles and other special bombs. In 2016, Boeing started updating them so that they can carry smart bombs inside the plane instead of just on the wings. Even though the B-1 bomber can carry more weight than the B-52, it rarely carries its full load. Its biggest load is the AGM-86B missiles, while the B-1 can carry more types of bombs, but fewer of each. Despite the plan to replace the Stratofortress in the future, the bomber will get new hypersonic missiles and nuclear-armed cruise missiles, making it more formidable and somewhat irreplaceable. This means that if the B-21 would definitely be a beast, a force to reckon with. In terms of propelling system, the B-52 bomber has 8 engines arranged in pods and held up by 4 pylons under the wings. These pylons also help the wings fly better. The first prototypes used experimental Pratt & Whitney YJ57P3 turbojet engines. The early B-52 LH models had Pratt & Whitney J57P1W turbojets with 10,000 pounds of thrust, which could go up to 11,000 pounds with water injection. Water for this was stored in a tank in the back of the plane. One thing is certain, the engine for the B-21 Raider would definitely be from the jet engine manufacturer Pratt & Whitney. Let's check out the Raider's competitor, China's Xi'an H-20. The H-20, also known as Hong-2, is a planned stealth bomber that is being designed for China's Air Force. It is a big project for the Chinese military because this would be their first bomber that is designed specifically for strategic purposes. This technologically advanced nation announced plans for this bomber in September 2016 by a Chinese Air Force general, Ma Xiaoshen, who disclosed to the public that China was working on a new long-range bomber. To help the public keep tabs of the development process, a military spokesperson confirmed that the development was going well. According to the U.S. Department of Defense, the H-20 will likely be a flying wing with a range of at least 8,500 kilometers and can carry at least 10 tons of weapons. This could pose a threat to United States military bases in Guam and Hawaii. The plane is expected to carry either conventional or nuclear weapons. Over the years, various models and computer images of the H-2 have appeared online, showing features like serrated air intakes and special tail services. Chinese state media hinted that this bomber might have its first flight soon in July 2022. The H-20, a Chinese bomber, is expected to carry at least 22,000 pounds of weapons, which could threaten U.S. targets as far as Hawaii. We don't know much about the H-20 yet because it's a secret, but based on what we know, the B-21 has an advantage. In March 2024, a vice commander of the Chinese Air Force mentioned that the H-20 would be revealed very soon during a National Congress session. While many design and performance details are unknown, China's subsonic bomber will have an estimated operational range between 5,000 and 6,000 nautical miles, or 8,500 to 10,000 kilometers. The aircraft is aimed at bombing missions in the second island chain and in the Western Pacific. With in-flight refueling capability, its range could be increased well beyond the Pacific region. The aircraft will also be capable of carrying conventional armaments and nuclear munitions in its internal and external bays. While this information is not enough to compare these two bombers, let's have a look at one of China's finest bombers, the Xi'an H-6. The Xi'an H-6 is a bomber aircraft used by the Chinese Air Force. It's based on a Russian plane called the Tupolev Tu-16. China started getting these planes in 1958, and they made a deal with Russia to build them in China. By November 2020, China had as many as 231 of these planes, and they're still making more. The newest version of the H-6 is called the H-6N. It's been changed a lot and can now refuel in the air and carry missiles that can be launched from the air. According to the United States Department of Defense, this will let the Chinese Air Force attack faraway targets with really accurate weapons. The Tupolev Tu-16, first used by the Soviet Union on April 1952, was among their earliest successful jet bombers. Over 1,500 were made by 1962. In the early 1956, the Soviet Union agreed to let China build Tu-16s too. They sent China 2 planes, parts, and materials to get started. Soviet experts helped China start making the planes in 1959. China chose the Harbin and Xi'an factories to build the Tu-16s. They had to make big changes and expansions to the factories. The first Chinese-made Tu-16 was finished in just 67 days in 1959. Then in 1961, they decided to focus on making them in Xi'an instead. The first fully Chinese-made H-6 bomber flew in 1968. But there were problems along the way. The Cultural Revolution caused delays, and they even lost some important plans during that time. The H-6 was used to test 9 nuclear bombs at the Lopner site. But as missile technology got better, the importance of using planes to drop nuclear bombs went down. By 1972, it was mainly used for regular bombing, not nuclear missions. If the H-20 is anything or even better than the H-6, the United States might just have something to worry about. Thanks for watching. While you are still here, click on the link on your screen to check out another of our videos. See you there.